All right, welcome back to another hour of Scotch Hour. This is Noah.
And this is Jesse.
All right, Jesse. So tonight we've got another fun episode here.
Oh, yeah. All right.
So we have a new Scotch we're going to be trying called Bunnahabhain.
Bunnahabhain.
I'm going to just go with the German here. Bunnahabhain.
No R.
I know. But I like saying Bunnahabhain.
All right.
But no, was it Bunnahabhain, right? Bunnahabhain. Okay. And then our topic for this evening, our smart challenge was the 12 monkeys. Really, we can go in any direction with that. There was no specific direction we're pointing out for that. And we have some our shout outs and our restaurant. Hang Noi. Everyone hang Noi tonight.
Yeah.
Everybody hang Noi tonight.
Scotch Reviewed.
All right, this evening's Scotch, the Bunnahabhain 12-year Islay single malt Scotch whiskey. I have sampled this before, this handsome canister. I actually think it's a very handsome bottle as well. And with that, and an Islay Scotch, it's not known to be as overbearing to some as other Islay Scotches. So one of 10 distilleries on that island, on the, off the coast of Scotland there. That's a lot of distilleries for one little island. Not to mention some of our favorites being amongst them. But great looking bottle. And man, Bunnahabhain first came out, first of all, I guess I better not forget, 46.3% alcohol by volume, not for the meek, if you will. Founded in 1881. One of the things about it, this little town where the distillery resides was actually founded so that the workers at the distillery had a place to stay.
That's pretty cool.
Right? I mean, think about it. If you worked for an employer, I don't know, any big business, Amazon will say just being one, and you had free rent where you could walk to and from work, it's a pretty good incentive.
I don't know, because like during the industrial revolution, they used to have that, and they had those corporate towns and stuff like that. And a lot of times there were some challenges to at least our Constitution and the laws that they try to impose in those company towns.
Yeah, I don't even know if there were laws in those company towns.
Well, there's a real famous lawsuit that occurred that went to the Supreme Court having to do with freedom of speech in a town square. But
all right,
we won't. I won't go delve into that.
That's for a different, smarter challenge.
Yes.
All right. Do you have anything you want to add to?
Well, the only thing I found on the history there is that it is in Islay, as you mentioned. It is on the remote northeast coast side of it. It was founded in 1881. It became one of the founding companies of the Highland Distillers in 1887. During the 1930s, there was a short period there where it did close down for a little bit. And then in 1929, that's when they came out, 1979. That's when they came out with their 12-year classic. And then in 2003, the demand for single malt scotches had risen so much that the company that owned Bunnahabhain, or Bunnahabhain, like I like to say, even though it's totally incorrect, they sold it to the current owners, which is Burn Stewart Distillers, and basically now they're focusing on making like single malts. And also at one time, it was used a lot in blending for Cutty Shark and the famous Grouse and Black Bottle.
All right.
So there you go. That's some of the history I found out on it.
All right. Well, let's open this bad boy up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me hear you holla. All right. You know the bottle that they use here? It kind of reminds me of the stills stuff. Just think of like a longer neck. You know, I think if Glam Morangi would do it right, they would make a bottle like that with like a really long neck and have like a giraffe head as a stopper.
Hey, maybe they will. Send that into them. The nose off of this thing just from me pouring it.
Pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we will give you our tasting notes here and cut. So, as I was tasting it, I do agree. It has a nice brassy color to it, more on the lighter brassy. Not quite the same brass that we get from the Macallan No. 6 edition, but pretty much more darker than some of the other ones we've been trying, or you could say even more caramel looking or caramel looking.
Yeah.
But definitely more towards the brassy side. Now, the aroma. Okay, so for me, when I first smelled it just out of the glass, I get like slight sweetness with some inland coastal smells. So what I mean by that is that like when you're on the beach, you're like right there on the coast and you'll get like that really nice salty ocean type air. But when I'm talking about inland, I'm talking about you're like maybe like 10, 15, 20 miles inland and you get the breeze off the ocean that you can smell. So as you're approaching the ocean or something or approaching the beach, that more inland sea smell, that's the kind of like inland coastal type of aroma I'm getting on it. However, when I heat it up in my hands, right, when I put a little bit in my hands and I rub it and I smell it, the aroma changes quite a bit. And honestly, I get much more of a floral / herbal type of smell to it. And as I mentioned to you, as we're offline tasting, I really get like it reminds me of cologne, like men's cologne, like one of the more floral type of men's colognes. That's what I get out of it.
Like a Dolce & Gabbana?
Yeah. It even reminds me of Cool Water, like the old David off Cool Water a little bit.
Kicking it back, man. That's like 30 years ago. I mean, I heard.
There's still some people that wear it today. Not me. I haven't worn cologne in a long time. But
this is some cool water.
Anyways, when it comes to the palate, I like the balance on it. I think I'm not getting really big spikes anywhere in it from the front to the mid to the back palate. And overall, what I'm getting is the initial, I get initial slight sweetness, which kind of transitions a little bit into nuttiness, a little bit of the coastal flavor, some malt, hints of malt, some sherry, and then kind of like on the finish is a little bit more of an herbal for me. I'm not really sure. I was having a really hard time picking out what I'm picking up on the finish, but I'm leaning more towards like an herbal sense to it. All in all, I think it's a great bottle. I like it a lot.
The Bunnahabhain 12. We've mentioned that it's one of the 10 active distilleries on Islay. And this is pretty bold, 46.3% alcohol by volume.
You wouldn't notice it though.
No, you don't. But I do feel warm. It's one of the scotches where it's not that I'm tasting the alcohol, but man, it feels warm and it feels good on a cold winter's night. Quite frankly, definitely different than some of the other Islay scotches. Particularly, one of my favorites, the Lagavulin, but it is, I agree with you, great. The color I really enjoy, medium brassy, not as rich brassy as I'm going to say the Macallan Edition 6, but a nice dark gold, medium brass tone to it. The nose for me was very sweet and definitely some of that coastal salt. I do get that as well. Much like yourself, there's a hint of botanicals or herbals in there, but I can't place them exactly on the palate. One of the things I think is great is it's got some of those nutty flavors that you want in your mouth. A little bit of fruit, and I almost feel like you take a really sweet orange and just take a little bit of that zest, and that's kind of just the smell of it. The taste is so powerful on a fruit zest, but just the smell of that, almost like a burnt orange even, sweet flavor kicks in there. I also taste that little bit of sherry. So one of the things about the Bunnahabhain 12 is they do mature it in 3 types of casks. So they use ex-sherry, ex-bourbon, and ex-whiskey. And the sherry cask, I think that's where in the middle of that palate is where that sherry cask's flavor really comes out, and I enjoy it greatly. The finish for me, it's consistent. It's not overpowering. It's not overbearing. It's not mild. It's still a good bold Scotch, but it's sherried from the casks.
You definitely get the sherry on it.
I like the way it finishes. It fades. It does not fade quietly into the good night. It fades very well. And I love the salty tang at the end. I love the salty tang. And that's about all I can say about it right now. I'm enjoying it so much.
Yeah, it's a great bottle so far.
Good choice, sir.
Thank you.
It's time for our shout outs.
My shout outs are going to my kiddos this week. Hey guys, Mila, awesome job. You went and sought other employment and you got it. I'm looking forward to hearing some great stories. I won't mention any names of employers just yet, or maybe never, but some great benefits to go along with that. And that's a big deal when a 17-year-old person understands the value of benefits. I think that's a generation, probably, it's an entire generation that's going to be speaking very loudly to employers in the future. And as so many employers have reduced benefits, they're going to have to make some other changes. Really proud of her. And then Aiden, oh man, guy, you're magic on the court. Last 2 games, you and your team have succeeded in one. Great job. And I don't know what else to say besides for the 2 of you. I'm proud of you. And man, I love to watch you grow up. I love to watch you guys mature and take control of your own lives. And I love that.
Awesome. Well, that's good. So she got that job you're telling me about?
Yep.
Good for her.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just had orientation.
Oh, cool.
That's where she disappeared to for just a short period this past weekend.
Nice. And then Aiden, he's had a couple more games.
Yeah, dude, is
he like racking up the points?
Oh man, he's killing it. He is
nice.
killing it.
Congrats, Aiden. Like definitely shout out for you.
This last game, he had 8 points in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Oh, really? Nice. What position does he play?
He usually plays point guard.
Point guard. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's the guy with the ball in the hand.
Man, 15 years old and he's as tall as me. And I'm not short per se, but man,
you're not a munchkin like me. I'm on the Danny DeVito side.
Whatever. We should do that movie Twins. That'll be a future Smarter Challenge Twins.
Actually, I think I'm taller than Danny DeVito.
I think you are too. And you've got hair.
And I got hair. I'm not crawling naked out of a leather couch.
Oh my goodness! Thank God. I'm gonna have nightmares later. Shoot.
That was part of a Christmas show on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I remember, dude. I don't remember a whole lot from that series because I didn't watch the entire series. I remember that.
They had some
She's
funny
all
episodes.
sweaty and nasty. And she's like, whoa.
There are some great episodes from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. One of my favorites is Dumpster Baby, where they go find a baby in the dumpster, and then they try to go take it like to utilize the baby for like advertisements. And the guy's like, we don't want white babies, so they go try to do like a tanning bed to make the baby black. I'll just stop there.
Yeah, I was going to say, this doesn't go anywhere good for this show.
Anyways,
Shout outs.
I will say this. So the idea of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and talking about Danny DeVito and all that, it does kind of correlate with our topic coming up here on the 12 Monkeys because it takes place in Philadelphia as well. So I'm not like too far off topic, even though I went off topic. As far as my shout outs go, I have 3 of them.
All right.
So, as someone had pointed out to me, I used to wear a lot of baseball caps. I haven't really been wearing any baseball caps lately. But one of the places where I do get baseball caps from is called Printed Kicks, and
Good name.
one of their hats I wear out and about is the one that says FJB on there, and I've been getting a lot of compliments. So I just wanted to say give a shout out to them. Another one is Hot Works Yoga. Their staff there here in Parker off of Stroh Boulevard or
Stroh Road.
Stroh Road.
Yeah.
They have a phenomenal staff out there. They're really cool, really super nice, sweet ladies. I think the whole staff is women, but I could be wrong. I only met some of them. Anyways, if
He'll
you-
make his way around to each and every one of you. Don't worry. Give him a day.
Anyways, if you like yoga, or especially if you like hot yoga, it's a really great place to go, especially like in this time frame now that we live in, because they have like basically like 8 different rooms, and they're all like little tiny like sauna rooms that get up to 125 degrees. And right now they're like allowing 2 people per room, but it's open 24 hours. So really pretty much you have like a whole room to yourself. You can pretty much schedule it anytime. The sessions are about like 30 minutes long, and I think it's really awesome. So I want to give them a shout out. And the last one I want to give a shout out to is Right to Print. They are the merchandisers for And We Know, which is he's another podcaster. And I had ordered a Christmas gift from the merchandise people, and Angie from Right to Print. She contacted me right away because I had screwed up and I forgot to change. I forgot to pick the right shipping. I needed like the 2-day shipping, and I chose regular shipping. So she got back to me right away, and we were able to work things out. So I just want to give a shout out to them as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So those are my 3 shout outs.
It's time for our shout outs.
So we went to everybody Wang Chung tonight. I mean, Chung Noi.
Chung Noi.
Everyone Chung Noi tonight.
Chung Noi.
So Chung Noi.
Chung Noi.
I don't know how many times I can say Chung Noi.
Chung
like,
Noi.
Chung Noi.
Chung Noi.
It's a Thai restaurant.
Kind of like what's up? Chung Noi.
Chung Noi.
Chung Noi.
Chung Noi.
Chung Noi.
Sorry. If anyone's watching this from Chung Noi, I'm sure they're like,
Chung
oh,
Noi.
I'm pretty sure they're all
Like,
upset with us.
F those guys.
Honestly,
Chung Noi.
when I first went by the restaurant, and actually I've been to the restaurant, this is my 3rd time there. Every time I thought the name was Hung Noi. I didn't realize the C was an actual C.
You thought it was a very special Asian that was well hung. Hung Noi? Where are you going, Hung Noi?
No, I did not think that. And I don't swing that way. And but the way the C is, hey, you saw it too. Like, yeah,
No, I agree.
the way they have the C designed it really doesn't look like it's a C. It just looks like it's it's their logo with like an elephant in it. But when you start looking at it, you actually do see a C in there, and it's actually designed like the Colorado flag with the C. But it's kind of like you have to kind of really look at it though, because it wasn't easy to pick up. It's a good thing
on the way out you saw their sign that expressed their password. We won't give it away, but part of that password was the name.
Yeah.
And he just stopped, and I'm laughing because I got the text, let's have dinner at Hung Noi. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he's like, it's by the Greek place. I'm like, cool, I don't even have to look for it on the internet, which is a good thing because I would have looked up the wrong place.
Well, I mean, when you see the sign, what did you think?
I thought the same exact thing. I was laughing. It was absolutely true.
Anyways, the food itself, I thought I got the Penang curry with chicken, which is like my favorite Thai dish, anyways. And I thought it turned out really well. It had really great flavor to it. The one thing I don't really like in their version of the Penang is like the little long mini corns or whatever. Not that I like the way they taste and all that stuff, but I just don't really like it in my Penang as much. But I thought it tasted really well. I like it has great flavor. I think the ambiance inside the restaurant, I think it's really well done. And I'm not sure if it's if it is like post-COVID type of thing, or if they're kind of like sort of new, but it doesn't seem like it's as busy as it could be. And because I think inside it looks really nice, and I think it has a whole lot of potential there. The food I think is great. I've had 3 different dishes there now. Every dish I've had, I thought it had pretty good flavor. The appetizer that we got had some pretty good flavor to it. And so overall, I would say it's a good place. I would give it about a 7.5 to an 8 and be very confident. I think the wait staff, they're pretty attentive. The one thing I didn't notice about them though was that they I'm not sure if it has to do with the cook, or maybe they don't have enough big cooking staff back there, but our food didn't come out at the same time.
It's true.
And that would be the one thing I would recommend for them to fix. But other than that, I give it like a pretty solid 8. And do I think you could take a first date there? I think it's possible. I don't think you're going to like super impress them. But if they are a person that likes Thai food, I think you can get away doing a first date there. And then, maybe like 3 or 4 dates down the line, it's definitely a safe bet. But yeah, that's I guess that's my opinion.
All right, now, been on this planet for like 21 years and finally ventured to intentionally eat Thai food. So I had the drunken noodles with beef and shrimp. It was good. The vegetables within the dish, the noodles were good. The vegetables were fresh. I did enjoy the flavor. It was very good. For me, the appetizer was okay, but there were a few things I prefer more of a Chinese flavored crab cheese wonton. I want some real fried calamari. I want some real fried calamari. It's a drunken... Some real fried calamari, but none of it was bad. It just wasn't my preference in many ways. But the drunken noodles were fun. They had some great flavor in there. The shrimp was really good. So I enjoyed my dish. For me, I thought the decor was an absolute win. I loved the inside. I would say because of that, for me, first date worthy, absolutely. They did have a very small beer and wine selection, but they did have beer and wine. So if you enjoy a Stella or a Coors, a Sapiro, or even some Kendall Jackson Cab, they've got a few of those things on their menu. So I enjoyed the atmosphere very much. Lots of plants in planters, some of them elephants everywhere. Loved that. And Much like the service for me was about the same. Not the greatest. I think that was their one real opportunity. Part of it could be an ethnic barrier as well, but they didn't seem as happy. They didn't seem like they wanted to be 100% as when we went to the Korean barbecue place a week ago, or even, the Chicken Shack a week before that. But it wasn't bad. So for me, the atmosphere was an 8. I actually thought that was great. It was welcoming, enjoyable. The food, now again, we're comparing this to all likes. The food was pretty good. My dish was $17 for the drunken noodles, fair price. And I would also give, I'm going to give the food a 7, just because maybe that Thai isn't my thing. I would choose a Cherry Village or a great Chinese dish currently over this one, and that's my preference. I don't have a Thai comparison, so keep that in mind. You may not want to use me as your best judge for this restaurant. The service was a 7, and first date worthy. Again, yeah, I'm going to say, it was fun. Especially if you like Thai food. I did have a taste of your dish, and I kind of wish I'd gone that way, because that way my dish would have been rated much higher. That was delicious, quite frankly. You did not go wrong. Yeah. Overall, I'm going to agree with you. Right around that 7-point range for total experience, and I would go back. I would take a first date there, a friend there. It was fun.
I think in order to get up to the 8 level, they just need to clean up a couple things, like clean up like the service, maybe get the food out at the same time. But I think other than that, they're not far off from being an 8. And honestly, for like the type of restaurant it is, an 8 is like a pretty high score for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Or even a 7 is a pretty decent score.
Like, one of the reasons I say it's date worthy is because it was clean. It was welcoming. I actually loved the inside.
Smarter challenges.
The smarter challenge for this week is the 12 Monkeys. Do you want to open, or would you like me to open?
I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and open.
Okay. You got notes. You got a bunch of notes. You typed out stuff.
I can't read my own writing.
Like, how many pages you got? You got pages?
I got duplicates.
Oh, you got duplicates.
Yeah,
okay.
if you want to follow along, I made you a copy here.
So, nice. So we're like actually in a meeting now.
So, like, one thing about 12 Monkeys, you got to realize this is not a brand new movie. It was a 1995 American science fiction film directed by Terry Gilliam. And it was inspired by Chris Marker's 1962 short film La Jetée, or Jetée. My French is about as good as my Thai. So the movie does star Bruce Willis, Madeline Stowe, Brad Pitt, with backup support roles by Christopher Plummer and David Morse. Universal Studios acquired the rights to remake La Jetée as a full-length film and hired David and Janet Peoples to write the script. We'll come back to that because that's actually kind of a big deal. If you don't know why, you're going to love it.
Okay.
Terry Gilliam. So Terry Gilliam, the director, born November 22nd, 1940. The guy's 81 years old now. That's awesome. Met his wife and married her in 1973. So the guy's been married a lot longer than I've been alive and on this planet. And that is very impressive to me. Congratulations. He was a former member of the Monty Python comedy troupe.
I did not know that.
That's awesome.
Right?
He became a feature film director in the 70s. Most of his films explore a couple of key points and a key facts here. One of the big things to him is imagination. So people's imagination and the importance it has on our lives. Opposition to bureaucracy and anti-authoritarianism, which you see some of these things absolutely in 12 Monkeys, and some of his other films. Get ready for, man. It's super exciting. Feature characters face dark or paranoid situations, very common. Black comedy and tragicomedy elements, and he loves his surprise endings. So some of the other movies he directed.
I love this first one you're going to say.
Time Bandits. Right? I know. Wait, dude, it even gets better. You're gonna love this whole piece. So Time Bandits, that 1981 feature film, 1985 Brazil, in 1988 The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, 91 The Fisher King, 95 the movie we are talking about tonight, 12 Monkeys, 98 Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, 2005 The Brothers Grimm and Tideland, and then the last real big film he did was in 2009, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Okay, there's some really interesting stuff here to point out.
Oh, I know. We'll come back to all this. That's why you got your copy, so you don't lose it. You're not going to lose it.
Okay.
We'll take a sidestep here. So this is interesting. La Jetée, and again, I think it's actually Jetée. So whichever it is, it's a 1962 French science fiction featurette directed by Chris Marker. It was constructed almost entirely from still photos, and not just still photos, but black and white still photos. It's a story of a post-nuclear war experiment in time travel. 28 minutes long, shot in black and white. The plot. A man, Davis Henish, is a prisoner in the aftermath of World War III in post-apocalyptic Paris. The survivors all live underground. In this particular film, it's in a gallery underground. There's scientists researching time travel, and the purpose of this is to hope to send subjects both to the past and to the future to be like, hey, we need help. Like, who can help us? Can we change our future by going to the past, or is there some way to fix it from the future? The problem is there's a huge difficulty in finding subjects that can go and do time travel. They just mentally can't handle it, the shock of the time travel. And there's a lot that goes into that. But they ultimately settle upon a protagonist whose key to the past is a vague but classic memory he has. Now, this is very interesting because this memory he has is as a boy, and he sees a man, and what he sees is the man get killed and die in front of him. So he goes to the future. Long story shorter, it's not really a long story, it's a featurette, but he goes to the future, finds some people who give him a power unit that is sufficient to help bring his world back to a livable world, his time back to a livable time. Upon the successful completion, the prisoners intend to kill him. So the people who he was imprisoned by originally are out to assassinate him. So he is contacted by the future, and they're like, hey, man, we can save you. Let's bring you to the future and get you away from these guys because we see what's going to happen because we're in the future. He's like, no, that's not what I want. I want to go back to the past. I need to find this lady from my childhood memory. So he goes back to the past. He sees the lady, instantly spots her. Like, it's perfect. It's like a photograph. Weird. And then when he spots her, he also spots one of the basically assassins from the prison. And the last thing he realizes and knows as he's falling and is facing death and dies is when he falls, he realizes the little boy that was right there with the lady in front of him was him, and his memory is literally watching him as his older self get killed. It's pretty interesting. Now, we're taking a sidestep in the other direction. This is the last one, then we'll start to get into some of the fun stuff. David Wed Peoples was the American screenwriter who Universal Studios selected to rewrite the movie, the short story, the short featurette to 12 Monkeys. He's an American screenwriter born February 9th, 1940. Notable works. These are just a few of them, but a couple of the key ones. 1982 Blade Runner.
That is an incredible movie. There's been lots of deep dives into that movie, and that probably should be like a Smarty Challenge one of these times.
Right. So you know what the next one that's on this list is?
I barely saw the list when you took it from me, so I think
I lost the page here. Oh, you know what? I do have mine right here. The second one, 1992, Unforgiven.
That's a great movie.
I feel like we've talked about that recently.
Yeah, I believe we did talk about that as being one of our favorite Westerns.
Yeah, and then most recently, so 12 Monkeys. But a litany of great art here, and I'm going to call it exactly that, from 1982 to 1992, 1995, 12 Monkeys. But David Wed Peoples, the screenwriter who has done these, also works and does some science fiction with his wife. But this is amazing because it's not just one great movie, it's multiple. So I feel like there's a lot of talent
honestly,
in this whole piece.
Yeah, I agree. Blade Runner is really well acclaimed as a movie. It's basically a sci-fi movie. A lot of like movie, or I should say like college classes that analyze movies, they'll use Blade Runner. Unforgiven, we talked about that. That won like tons of awards. And 12 Monkeys, the movie we were talking about tonight. That's incredible. What I wanted to point out here is from the director, Terry Gilliam.
Yes.
And this is just, I'm not really going to dive too far into this, but Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. If you're paying attention, right? You've seen the movie, they're talking about the drug adrenochrome. And if you've been paying attention to what's being supposedly going on in the world today, the drug adrenochrome supposedly, okay, I'm not sure how much this is gonna get us into trouble or not, and I'm not sure how far I should venture into this.
Not too far, man. Just far enough.
But
don't go too deep. She won't like that.
But apparently, there's as we are learning, there's a big, huge like human trafficking, pedophilia type of thing going on right now currently, and the way supposedly a certain type of adrenochrome is harvested has to do with children and their disappearances and their death. And I do talk about this like in one of my very like that individual podcast I did, which I kind of put on pause. And it's really prevalent in the TV series True Detective, the first season. And so that's very interesting that he did that about adrenochrome with Fear and Loathing. And it's about that I forget who's the movie's about a certain author, right? I forget the name of the author. Anyways, not a big deal at this moment. The other one, Adventures of Baron Munchausen, that is a watered down American version of the Nazi propaganda of the Baron Munchausen, which goes around promoting how great the Aryan race is, among other like cultures. Very interesting. That one would do a remake of that movie and also talk about adrenochrome. And being that he likes to look at opposition to bureaucracy and anti-authoritarianism, because if you look at the 12 Monkeys, that's kind of like what they were going against, the actual group, which we could talk about is Brad Pitt. So I guess I'm not sure exactly where I want to start at with this now that you kind of threw this curveball.
I figured you like that.
Yeah, I do. I think it's great. So what I would like to, I guess what I'll bring up here first is like, I think we have, when you look at Bruce Willis, who is the protagonist of this movie, and then you have one of the main side characters or supporting cast, which is Brad Pitt. I think they both give excellent performances in this movie. And the really like with Brad Pitt, when you take a look at that film in Fight Club, I think he does a really good job of doing a crazy person. I mean, do you remember like how he was acting in like the insane asylum here? In
I do, Monkeys? I do, and I think you're absolutely right. Looking into his life, some pieces that he's shared in interviews and such. One of the things you learn about him is he probably did it very well because he probably was on the verge of a breakdown more than one occasion on his life. And he's spoken about how when he did Fight Club, he went from being a starter, not even Fight Club, but a couple of movies from Fight Club was the one that just like took him off the charts, and then not doing a movie for a little while, for years. And it's like, well, nobody wants to be this one hit wonder. So he's dealt with some serious emotional and psychological plights, like many of us. And so I imagine he played it very well, because he's just like, man, I'm going to just take what I've experienced to the next level. I mean, he plays a gypsy, very well in another one of his roles.
Oh, yeah. He does a good job there, too.
Yeah.
And supposedly, I'm not sure how true this is, like if you go down the rabbit hole, but apparently he is a Freemason.
I absolutely believe that. And all I got to say is, man, like there's a crazy hot scale, right? He married some of the crazy hot ladies on this planet, and the most recent one being Angelina Jolie. What do you expect? He's probably equally crazy.
So in any case, so if you know anything about the Freemasons and what they stand for, or at least the 33rd degree or whatever, going down that rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, it kind of makes sense. But in any case, his character, I forget what his character's name is in this movie, but his dad happens to be a head of a research facility where he is an anti-virologist or a virologist. And so the so-called deadly virus that is being exposed, that causes or kills like billions of people, over 5 billion people, and drives the human race underground, is created in a laboratory that his dad is the head person of. And talking about time travel here, I do think they do alter the future, because Bruce Willis, when he's in the insane asylum with Brad Pitt, his main love interest, I guess, or the female, which is, what was her name? You had it in here somewhere.
Madeline Stowe.
Madeline Stowe. She finally believes him about that he is from the future. And when she starts believing him, and she can't find him anymore because he had gone to the future or gone to the past to see there, right? Because like first time he goes into the past, he winds up in the insane asylum because no one believes him. They all think he's freaking crazy. Then he goes back to the future, and they give him a pardon because, was it that time they give him a pardon? I don't think they give him a pardon that time. I don't remember exactly what happens. But in any case, he goes back to the future, and then they send him back out again. And the second time around, he sees her at some kind of museum doing some. She's doing some kind of talk about how in the past there have been people who prophesized about a virus that goes around wiping out the whole human race. And so he kidnaps her, basically, and then finds out that Brad Pitt is out of the asylum and now at his dad's house running a thing, and head of the 12 Monkeys, and goes to Brad Pitt's father's mansion where there's a big party going on. And she finally convinces him that he's crazy, so he starts jumping around in a puddle and disappears. After that, she starts looking at the information because a police officer says, that bullet that you pulled out of his leg, it's an antique. It comes from like 1919 or whatever, from the World War I. And one of the pictures that she uses in the book that she used on her talk shows Jose, which is one of the prisoners, where Bruce Willis was a prisoner, who was shot, and she sees a picture of him reaching out to Jose because they're both saying like they need to find the pure strain or whatever. And then she starts believing in him, and then she starts calling up people, trying to explain the whole thing. And then she gets a hold of Brad Pitt's dad, and so Brad Pitt's dad takes himself out of the whole security chain, so that way Brad Pitt and the 12 Monkeys can't break into the lab to release the virus. So that changes the history or changes the pathway. And then that means like the assistant virologist that works in the lab, he's the guy who goes out and releases a virus. So, like you mentioned in the featurette, Bruce Willis as a kid does see himself dying in the future.
At an airport.
In an airport. So I do think there's a lot of things kind of going on here. We've got time travel that's going back and forth, how that messes with a person's mind. Can you change the future by going into the past? And I think when we talk about there's these photos where people talk about how there's people from the future that are actually in these like old black and white photos, and people are unsure if they were actually photoshopped in or if they're reality. And then we got the whole virus thing that we can definitely dive into. So where would you like to go from here?
The first thing I'm going to go into is the whole piece about time travel.
Okay.
And so, yes, absolutely. If time travel occurs, then it will change time. It will change history. There's no way around it, honestly, with one photo. Take this modern time we live in right now. You send somebody from the past or the future to New York or a big city, Los Angeles, maybe Denver, who knows? You get someone dressed like a Fruit Loop or a 12th monkey, and people are going to take pictures. And all of a sudden, these pictures end up somewhere. It's not just... it's impossible to not create a ripple or a wave by time traveling, particularly when your intention is to change something about the past or the future. Yeah,
I would guess I would agree. I mean, that's where the whole butterfly effect would kind of sort of come into play. So do you think even like if you were to go time travel and you're just showing up as an observer, and it's an observer, you think that's causing some kind of ripple effect?
It will, and it does. And I think when you think about 12 Monkeys, at the end, Bruce Willis was doomed. He was going to perish one way or another. There's on the airplane, there's the box, the backup plan. Part of the reason for that is because if you send someone back to change the future from the past, so in other words, to create a ripple and change what's going on right now, you also most likely have to terminate them, otherwise they know what you did. And it's not so much a matter of one piece or another, but they were in the past and they knew what happened, and that means their new present self already knows, just like watching himself die. So yeah, he was always going to be doomed because they had to get rid of him, or he would change it again, unintentionally, possibly.
So okay, bigger thing comes up here is a virus, and I think we've been hearing. You hear this a lot as far as like in TV shows, even in education. TED Talks, but they all talk about the Earth and its population and how we need to depopulate the Earth. And the main person, or I guess the main bad guy, you will, the antagonist in this case, which is the lab assistant, he talks about how the Earth would be better if we depopulated it, which is why he talks about at the book signing how we should kill people, and he talks about a virus being that and saying like how that would be just. One could make some correlations to what's happening today.
Oh yeah, that would be very easy. Let's take a different stance, though, and let's just realize, hey, you guys are viewers, people are out there. You have to understand and believe that governments, any world superpower in particular, and there's only a handful of them, but even the non-world superpowers are absolutely doing what they can technologically to create potential non-world ending war threats. One would be a virus or some other sort of biological warfare. Please don't be ignorant and just realize that every one of the superpowers, if not all currently, at some point has and will continue to look into this as a true potential in case there was a threat of a World War III. It can't go nuclear. That's a world ender. That would end everyone's life for at least 20 years, or everyone would be living underground. Hence, the short featurette in the movie, everyone's living underground because of the nuclear fallout. But with that, also realize that there are so many other ways. You talk about the protagonist, and it's interesting to me because so many of these very wealthy people out there are talking about how we need to depopulate the world. Then there's the handful that says complete opposite, which is actually science and particularly math, like Elon Musk, who's like, yeah, you guys need to realize that we're getting older and the young aren't being born as quickly, and we're going to be in trouble, not just from a social security standpoint, but because as the population ages out, if there aren't enough young abled bodies to do whatever needs to be done, we run into situations no different than today. Staffing problems in restaurants, staffing problems in retail, staffing problems particularly at the government level right now. Why wouldn't anyone want to work for the government? I don't know. You should trust them, right? There are lots of different things. But with that, the virus, going back to the virus, it's totally possible. And I do believe even the Biden administration, who at one point in time fought where our current COVID virus came from, is now fully in agreement as to where it came from and how it was released.
Yeah, it's funny how back when we had a
previous president,
how when people say that the virus came from a certain place in a certain area,
China. I mean, it's okay to say now because Biden said it, so it's okay.
Okay, that you would get blocked on social media. You would get banned. I don't know how many days in Facebook jail I've been in. But now all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, it's accepted because I guess the Biden administration said yes, there's that probability now, or it did come from there. And I think it's really interesting though, because Terry Gilliam, he talks about opposition to bureaucracy and government, right, or anti-authoritarianism, right. And if you really look at it, corporations. Look how strong corporations have become. Have they not also become the bureaucracy of the world? Are they now currently saying like what you can or cannot say on social media without looking at our constitutional rights of freedom of speech and those sorts of things? And who if you start looking at I guess China, right? They have what's now called the social scoring. It's now starting to be implemented in Australia and in other places. And basically, if you say things that go against the big pharma, the medical industrial complex, the governments and stuff like that, your social score goes down. And when your social score goes down, then you can no longer go out shopping, you can't travel, you can't do anything. And basically you become a segregated person, a second-class person who's not allowed to even leave their house. And so that if you really think about it, look at some of the implementations that are going on today due to the virus, right? I mean, even if you look in the movie 12 Monkeys, the time frame which Bruce Willis comes from, where they all live underground, look at how is it dystopic?
Dystopia?
Yeah. Look how the I guess the governmental structure is there, right? It's a medical. The board he goes in front of are all scientists. It's a medical board. What are we kind of like sitting in right now? Like who's kind of like directing governments and stuff right now? Is that not like a medical board with Fauci?
Oh, dude, Fauci killed. Like, I can't even believe people are still listening to this guy after everything that he did, and then he was discredited, and now he's been recredited, and people are listening to him again. Literally, I just can't. I can't.
So you got like Fauci, you have the World Health Organization, you have the CDC, right? Are these not the same kind of like so-called scientists or medical board that Bruce Willis really sets up in front of? To determine whether or not he should, go back to the future or go back to the past to help them find the breakout of the virus. And if you look at it, like all the people you see are in prison, they don't really say like what he did was like that. They just said he was violent, but it seems like he's just looking for freedom.
Freedom and freedom.
And if you really look at like all you see is basically the medical board and which are the ruling people there. And the police. And I think what you're starting to see here, especially when you start looking at places like Germany right now, right? If you don't have a vaccine passport or you haven't had the vaccine yet, they are separating people who can go shopping and who can't go shopping. So they've already segregated them. Canada, I just saw a video today from Canada.
Oh, yeah, those guys are feeling sorry for themselves. All the people who voted in our current president were the ones who were going to move there when the last president was elected.
Well, that's what they said, but I don't think many of them did.
None of them did. I didn't see one person
But
did
in any case, in Canada, I saw a video today where a guy who went to go shopping, go buy groceries, the grocery store wouldn't allow him in. They said that he couldn't purchase groceries because he refused to get a vaccine shot. It's very interesting. I think you can see a whole lot of correlations going on here because they're talking about how this is a pandemic, how COVID, or I guess now we're on Omicron, is so deadly and stuff like that. And if we were in a true pandemic that could wipe out the whole world, you could be looking at a scenario similar to the 12 Monkeys.
For sure. One thing I'm still not sure about, though, is why we have told people not to abuse antibiotics per se, but we haven't realized maybe we shouldn't be abusing vaccines because every time we come up with a vaccine, this virus is mutating into something stronger. I don't know. Seems like maybe we should rethink this.
And I think where we can also draw some parallel factors here between 12 Monkeys and what we're seeing in today's time is too, like you have the main antagonist who wants to depopulate the earth. And then if you look at somebody like Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates, he's a computer guy.
Yeah.
And you have a virologist guy, right? Any case, when you look at both of them, they both talk about depopulating the earth. Bill Gates has a real famous TED Talk where he says, like, one of the biggest problems is the CO2 in the air. So how do we control that? And he has this whole mathematical figure he puts up on the big screen behind him as he's doing his TED Talk. And he says one of the ways is to control population. And he goes, the way we can control population is through vaccines and well-managed health care. I don't know. And if you look at he's right now, he is an investor in a lot of the vaccines that are out there. And he's been buying up farmland and stuff like that. It's just kind of curious, And I know we used 12 Monkeys into a segue of this, but I think I think you can pull a lot of things from the movie into real life. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Anything?
I mean, yeah, very few things are actually creative. Most things are just observations rewritten.
Well, how about this as a question? Do you think governments use television and movies to
Propaganda? We know they do. That we've.
I was going to say propaganda,
war.
but maybe to kind of foreshadow what they're going to do to us in the future.
Oh, absolutely. We know that too. Just like a propaganda, they do that so that it comes out and it's considered imagination. Oh, this fairy tale is never going to happen, or this nightmare is never going to happen. It's just in a movie. And then before long, it's been in so many movies, it's no longer a nightmare. And then you just welcome it into your life through the government.
All right. So, I don't know exactly how things end in the 12 Monkeys. I mean, at the end, you do see one of the scientists on board sitting in first class next to the antagonist.
Yeah, with the box.
And she says that she is in insurance.
She's the insurance policy to make sure.
Yeah, to make sure they stop it or grab the pure strain. So it kind of ends on a hopeful note that they'll be able to figure out how to create a antidote for that virus that was released. How do you see things turning out in real life?
Oh man, it's interesting.
Do you see us heading underground?
Golly, I hope not. But if we ever went nuclear, yeah, we'd have to. I don't see us necessarily heading underground, but I do see a continued political fight of what is really insane to me is the ability to have and use rights and not have them taken away. The current legal battles going on with OSHA and COVID and everything else are interesting to me because it really comes down to day one where we ask ourselves, okay, so you have a choice. You can go get vaccinated or not. And then all of a sudden that's not a choice. But the real question is still the same question I always asked. Why, if you were vaccinated, are you worried about someone who's not vaccinated getting vaccinated because you've already been vaccinated and that's supposed to protect you? So what are you worried about?
It's a good question to ask, and it's just kind of weird how even the CDC changed the definition of what a vaccine is.
Yeah.
And
it's a flu shot now. It's no longer a vaccine.
And now you have to also get boosters, or before you never had to do that with previous vaccines usually. It's another curious case here to kind of notate with vaccines. Like when we were kids, we didn't have to take nearly as many vaccine shots as
that was 20 years ago. By the way, we were kids 20 years ago.
And then even maybe our grandparents or even our great grandparents, they had to take even less vaccine shots than we did. And the funny part is, as vaccines increased over time, so has autism. And yet, if you go look at the CDC or some other places, they'll say that autism has nothing to do with vaccines. But when you look at the data, it's hard to say more vaccines, more autism, less vaccines, less autism. I know I'm making it pretty simple here, but I guess if one wants to really go deep diving into the numbers, they can find other things. But the other thing that people don't really realize when it comes to some of these vaccines, though, is not only has vaccines come into play, but hygiene has also increased over the time. The same with nutrition. So back when, in the 1800s, if you look at hygiene over the population, and nutrition, it wasn't quite as well as it is today. So as nutrition and hygiene has increased, would that not also probably lower diseases?
Very, very possible. It comes down to that same thing, though, where you've got somebody who used to always go play and eat dirt as a kid, and then you have his kids, and now they never get to go play in or eat dirt, and instead they're washing their hands every day with antibiotic soap. What about letting the little germs in so you can build your immunity? I think that to me is the bigger piece. It's not so much about vaccines or time or anything else. For me, it really just comes down to rights. It's whether I choose one thing or another. If it's a right, if it is a constitutional right, please don't take it away.
Please don't take it.
That's all I can ask right now. Biden's got another 2 years. Maybe in 2 years I can ask again. I'll get a different response. But please don't take away my rights. That's all I'm asking.
Well, they say freedom isn't free. You have to fight for it. So I do think it's an interesting topic, and I really don't want us to say, start stepping on too many more landmines. I know we probably... if we get strikes from YouTube as our first warning, this might be it. Which hopefully it won't be. Hopefully we say clear enough of the do not talk abouts. But in any case, I think overall, if you haven't seen the 12 Monkeys, you should probably watch it. Yeah, I mean, it does bring up some questions about time travel, whether or not how one's mind can handle time travel. Another question, a lot of times when you start watching TV shows or movies about time travel, they said that you cannot be in the same area at the same time. But how does that really work if you have an older self versus a younger self and you won't recognize yourself really? Does that still cause some kind of paradox to happen? Is it even time travel even possible? I think in theory it's possible, but has it really been discovered yet? It's possible. Maybe not. I don't know.
I think it's absolutely possible. I think it has not only been deemed possible, but it's happened. I don't think you get so many multi-billionaires in such a short period of time unless some people have abused some power. Like, oh, never heard of this guy a year ago. Now he's a billionaire. Cool.
Well, there is supposedly a documentary of like how the Russia had already discovered time travel. Supposedly it's on Amazon Prime. I haven't seen the movie or the documentary, but it's supposed to be interesting. If I can find the name of it, I'll drop it in the comments.
Drop it in the box.
I guess anything else, I'll just say just pay attention to watch the movie, pay attention, give us your thoughts about like if you think it correlates to what we're seeing today and any kind of similarities or not. That's all. I guess that's all I'll really share about it. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, enjoy the movie. It is a pretty interesting role for Brad Pitt, another interesting role for Bruce Willis. Madeline Stowe, I mean, she does well. I don't think she stands out like the other two, but those two do just a great job, I think, in many of their roles. So entertainment value, it's a good movie to watch at least once. Enjoy it. Don't take it too seriously, but learn from things. That's the point. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Very true. Very true. All right. We'll just say that concludes our discussion tonight for our Smart Challenge.
Absolutely.
All right. So what's our next week's Smart Challenge?
All right. Next week's Smarter Challenge, a little bit of a step away from 12 Monkeys. We are going to enjoy watching a little bit of the Matthew McConaughey in the movie Interstellar and really talk more about energy and the potential of the fact that it's not created or destroyed and time travel once again.
All right. Interesting. I've never seen the movie. I'm looking forward to it.
It is good. We'll also enjoy a Glenfarclas Scotch. We haven't decided which one yet, but we will be drinking a Glenfarclas, most likely the 12, a royal blue canister.
Nice. All right. Anything you want to say to the peeps as we close up?
Please continue to give feedback. We like and enjoy using it. Let us know what you do and don't want to see. And remember, do not drink and drive. Life is great.
All right. I'll say once again, as Jesse mentioned, thank you for your support. Please drop some comments down below. We like to hear what your thoughts are about this topic, about what we talked about, as long as we don't get striked from YouTube. Hopefully, we stayed on the right side of everything to do that. Also,
Right side.
right side.
Or your right side.
We are, if you are listening to us, then you're probably hearing us on Podbean or Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, or Audible Podcasts. If you're watching us, we're usually on YouTube. Oh, and the one shout out I forgot to mention is I want to give a shout out to our one Rumble viewer. We are also on Rumble.
Listener.
We are also on Rumble, but only one person watches us on Rumble. So whoever you are, thank you. You're a stud.
Or studette.
Or studette if you're a woman. So thank you very much for watching us on Rumble. We do greatly appreciate that as well. And if you like our show, please become a patron. You can become a patron for as low as $1 a month. And I'll just finish up one last thing here, since this is coming out New Year's, the week of New Year's. Happy New Year's, everybody, and we'll see you in 2022.
Yeah.
With the same Scotch time, same Scotch hour.
All
Cheers.
right. Life is great. Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a patron member, with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.